Welcome to the channel, friends. I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Before we dive into today's story, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below and let us know. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. We've got something special lined up for tomorrow, and I can't wait to share it with you. Let's get started with today's journey. What this CEO discovered in his own store will blow your mind. Lucas Hamilton, a self-made entrepreneur, had always prided himself on his journey from humble beginnings to the owner of a thriving retail chain, Hamilton Goods. At 38, Lucas had built his business from the ground up, starting with a single store and expanding it into a nationwide network of locations. He had worked tirelessly, making sure the store's slogan, affordable quality for every home, resonated with families all over the country. But as the company grew, Lucas began to feel a disconnect from the day-to-day operations. He was no longer involved in the little details, the ones that made a difference in the customer experience. His executives gave him glowing reports about the company's success, but something didn't feel quite right. It was a nagging feeling, the kind that kept him up at night. The numbers were telling one story, but Lucas couldn't shake the feeling that something important was being overlooked. He decided it was time to take matters into his own hands. With the company's expansion, he had unknowingly lost touch with the very foundation that had made his business successful. So, one morning, he woke up early, swapped his tailored suit for jeans and a plain jacket, and made his way to store number 457, located in a busy suburb miles away from corporate headquarters. Lucas wanted to experience the store from the ground up. He wasn't going there as the CEO of Hamilton Goods, but as a regular customer, blending in with the crowd. He knew that the truth was hidden in plain sight, and he was determined to find it. The store looked tidy, well-stocked, and professional, but as he walked down the aisles, something felt off. There were customers waiting at the service counter, visibly frustrated, yet no one seemed to be in a hurry to help them. Lucas knew this was just the beginning of uncovering the truth. What he didn't expect was how the people running the store would change his perspective on everything he thought he knew about his own business. As Lucas continued his undercover visit to store 457, the initial pride he felt began to fade. The store was neat, the shelves well stocked, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, creating a sense of comfort. But there was something unsettling about the atmosphere, a tension that was hard to ignore. Lucas walked past the aisles, picking up a few items, yet his attention was drawn to the service counter, where a small line of customers stood waiting. The absence of a friendly, helpful employee was the first red flag. Time passed, and no one showed up to assist them. Lucas stood back and watched, wondering how this would unfold. After several minutes, a young man named Kyle finally appeared behind the counter. His body language was off-putting from the start. He leaned against the counter, his face showing clear annoyance, as if his customers were an inconvenience. Without offering an apology for the wait, he muttered, "What do you want?" in a tone more dismissive than polite. Lucas watched in disbelief as Kyle dealt with the customers. One man tried to return a faulty blender, only to be told the store's return policy was unclear. No apology, no empathy. Another customer asked for directions to a specific product, and Kyle lazily waved his hand toward the back of the store without even lifting his gaze from his phone. When it was Lucas's turn, he couldn't believe the interaction. "Excuse me, could you help me check the price on this item?" he asked politely, trying to keep things casual. But Kyle barely acknowledged him. "There's a scanner over there," he muttered, pointing vaguely toward an aisle. Lucas's heart sank. This was not the kind of service Hamilton Goods prided itself on. The experience was nothing like the company's promised values: service with a smile, attentive care, and respect for the customer. As Lucas walked away from the counter, his mind raced. How could this be happening in his company? His mind flashed back to the reasons he had started this business: providing quality products and creating a meaningful experience for the people who trusted his brand. But right here, right now, something had gone terribly wrong. The truth was staring him in the face, and he couldn't ignore it any longer. There was more to discover, more to uncover, and Lucas knew he had to dig deeper. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was the beginning of a much larger issue. As Lucas processed the disappointing encounter with Kyle, he knew there had to be more beneath the surface. The service at the counter was just the beginning, and his curiosity drove him to look deeper. He wasn't ready to jump to conclusions yet. He needed to understand whether this was an isolated incident or a symptom of a larger problem within the store. So he decided to continue his exploration. As he walked through the aisles, his eyes scanned the employees. He was looking for someone different, someone who might still believe in the values that had helped build Hamilton Goods. That's when he met Jack, a middle-aged man with a warm smile. Jack was stocking the shelves, but the moment he saw Lucas, he immediately stopped what he was doing and greeted him. "How can I help you today?" Jack asked, his voice genuine and welcoming. There was a clear difference in the way he approached customers. Lucas could sense the care and attention Jack gave to every interaction, and it stood in stark contrast to the behavior he had witnessed at the service counter. Lucas struck up a casual conversation with Jack, asking about products and even inquiring about the store's overall operations. Jack patiently answered each of his questions, offering recommendations and sharing useful tips. But as the conversation continued, Lucas could hear the exhaustion in Jack's voice when he mentioned the struggles of working at the store. "We're short-staffed," Jack explained. "And some of the newer hires, well, they don't seem to care much about the job." His words struck Lucas hard, as he could see the toll this was taking on Jack. It was clear that Jack cared deeply for the store and its customers, but the lack of support from management and the neglect of younger employees like Kyle were causing a strain. Jack's face lit up when he mentioned how much he loved the store, but the frustration was evident as he revealed how difficult it had become. "It's tough, but I do my best to keep things running smoothly," Jack added. Lucas felt a wave of admiration for Jack's dedication, but also a sense of sadness. Here was a man who had worked for years, pouring his heart into the store, only to be overlooked while employees like Kyle were allowed to get away with poor service. Lucas realized then that the company's growth, while successful, had created blind spots. Policies meant to streamline operations were now hindering hardworking employees like Jack. Lucas knew something had to change, and he couldn't just turn a blind eye to it anymore. This was no longer just about a single store or one bad employee. It was about the culture of his entire company. He had to act fast before the values of Hamilton Goods slipped further away. After his conversation with Jack, Lucas left store 457 with a heavy heart. The disparity between Jack's dedication and Kyle's neglect was glaring, and Lucas knew he couldn't let this continue. This wasn't just a minor issue. It was a problem that needed immediate attention. As soon as he returned to the headquarters, Lucas dove into employee records and customer feedback for Store 457. It didn't take long to uncover the troubling truth. There were multiple complaints about Kyle's rude behavior and poor service, and most notably, Jack had been recommended for a promotion several times, but each time he had been overlooked due to budget constraints. Lucas felt a rush of frustration. Here was a man, committed and loyal, who was being passed over while someone like Kyle was allowed to continue with his poor attitude. It was a wake-up call, a sign that the company's rapid growth had caused serious blind spots. The policies designed to streamline operations had instead created an environment where employees like Jack, who truly cared, were getting lost in the shuffle. Meanwhile, employees like Kyle, who clearly didn't embody the company's values, were slipping through unnoticed. Determined to take action, Lucas made the decision to return to Store 457. This time, he wasn't undercover. He was going back as himself. He called a meeting with the staff, including Kyle, Jack, and everyone in between. As they gathered, Lucas could sense the tension in the room. He stood before them, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I started this company with a simple idea, to make life easier for people. That includes our customers and our employees," he said. "But somewhere along the way, we've lost sight of that." Turning to Jack, Lucas felt a surge of pride and respect. "Jack, your commitment and hard work haven't gone unnoticed. Starting today, you're being promoted to assistant manager. You've earned it." Jack's eyes widened in surprise, and the room erupted into applause. But Lucas wasn't done. He turned to Kyle, who was now visibly uncomfortable. This company is built on respect for our customers and for each other. If you're not willing to embrace that, this might not be the right place for you. I'm giving you a chance to prove you can do better, but the choice is yours. Lucas felt a sense of relief. He knew it was a difficult conversation to have, but it was necessary. Over the next few months, changes were made across the company. Lucas introduced better training programs, increased staffing levels, and implemented an anonymous feedback system for both employees and customers. Surprisingly, Kyle took the opportunity to improve. Under Jack's mentorship, he became a more attentive and reliable employee. Lucas's experience reminded him of the importance of staying connected to the heart of his business. He had allowed himself to get too distant, too wrapped up in the numbers and the growth. But at that moment, he understood. It wasn't just about profits or expansion, it was about the people. And thanks to that one eye opening visit, he was able to steer the company back toward its core values. The change was only just beginning, but it was a step in the right direction. The months that followed Lucas's decision to promote Jack and give Kyle a chance to improve were a turning point for both the company and for him. The changes Lucas implemented began to take root, but they weren't easy. The company had become so large that making meaningful changes at every level felt like a daunting task. However, Lucas knew it was necessary if Hamilton Goods was going to stay true to its core values of quality, respect, and customer care. Lucas's first priority was to improve employee training programs. He worked closely with his team to create a comprehensive system that would help all employees, old and new, align with the company's values. It was about more than just learning the technical aspects of the job. It was about teaching empathy, customer service, and accountability. He also introduced a more flexible staffing model, ensuring that stores were properly staffed during peak hours, preventing overwork and burnout. The introduction of an anonymous feedback system was another crucial change. Lucas understood the importance of hearing from the people on the ground, the ones who interacted with customers daily. This system allowed employees and customers alike to voice their concerns without fear of reprisal. It also helped Lucas identify issues he hadn't noticed before, such as recurring problems with certain store locations or management styles. This transparency allowed him to address problems quickly before they grew into bigger issues. As for Kyle, Lucas was surprised by how much he had changed. Under Jack's mentorship, Kyle started to show real improvement. He became more attentive, more polite, and more invested in his work. Lucas watched as Kyle slowly transformed from someone who didn't seem to care into someone who understood the importance of his role in the company. It wasn't an overnight change, but it was progress, and Lucas was proud of the efforts both men had made. For Lucas, this experience was a reminder that leadership isn't just about making decisions from behind a desk. It's about staying connected with the people who make the company what it is. It was easy to get caught up in the numbers, in the growth, in the endless expansion. But the heart of Hamilton Goods wasn't in its buildings or its products. It was in the people who worked there, who served customers, and who believed in the mission. Lucas realized that his business was only as strong as the culture he fostered within it. It was no longer just about growth. It was about creating a company where employees felt valued, customers were treated with respect, and the values Lucas had started the company with were alive and well. Thanks to his eye-opening visit to Store 457, Lucas had found his way back to the heart of the business, and he was determined not to lose sight of it again. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's story. I'd love to hear what you think. Your thoughts and feedback are so important to me. Have you ever experienced a situation where leadership decisions completely shifted the course of an organization? Or perhaps you've been in a place where a small change made a huge difference. I'd love to hear your personal stories and experiences, so feel free to drop a comment below and share what's been on your mind. If you've ever faced a challenge with customer service or witnessed an employee transformation, tell us about it. It's always fascinating to see how different perspectives can shape the way we think about business and leadership. What do you think Lucas should have done differently? Or what would you have done in his shoes? I'm curious to hear your opinions on how the changes he made could impact the company's future. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love engaging with you all in the comments and can't wait to hear what you have to say. Let's keep this conversation going. Your input really helps shape the content I create. Thanks for being part of this community, and I look forward to hearing from you all.